Hi everybody, Lori here. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm excited to be a part of the Alex Syberia May release blog hop, and I have a few projects to share with you using some of their new release products. First, I'm going to be featuring the Heartfelt Blooms collection, and this includes a stencil, a stamp set, coordinating die, and also a hot foil plate. But I'm going to be focusing on the Heartfelt Blooms stencil set. There's 6 stencils in the set, and the packaging shows you what each of the 6 stencils look like, which is very helpful. I'm going to be using my mini Misty to line up the stencil. I just butt everything down in the bottom right corner. I have a panel of Hammermill cardstock cut to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and I'm just using that Misty magnet. And that's all she wrote. I'm going to be using several Pawsitively saturated inks by Simon Says Stamp, starting with Cheeky. So the first stencil, and if you want to make this really, really simple, just do one color for each stencil. But I like to pop in, add in, slip in as much color as I can. So I did a light wash, just a light even wash of that Cheeky, and then I took a little Peachy and did just a smidge over on the right. Why? I don't know. I wasn't sure if it was going to go or work, but I just felt like I needed a two-tone. I'm not sure. Sometimes things just feel like they feel. So that's stencil number 1. I think I'm going in order. You don't have to go in order. But here's stencil number 2, which is also kind of like more of the full area of the peony. And so I just took that red blender brush that I had used before, and I didn't even add any ink. And I'm just giving a light wash over that whole open stencil. I didn't want to cover up what I had already stenciled, but I wanted to add a little bit of shading. Didn't even need any more ink, just what was left on the brush. Did the same thing with that orange blender brush. I just picked up and added a little bit, didn't re-ink it, just used what was left over on the brush. So here we have 2 stencils. I only used 2 inks. Here's stencil number 3. Now this is the detail. We're getting more detailed, so I wanted to make it darker. So I took blush, which is the next shade darker after Cheeky. And that's going to give you that bright poppin' corally red. And I'm kind of focusing it more over on the left side. And I'll bring in the orange over on the right side. Okay, so blush, working that all around, that heartfelt bloom. And then I brought in grapefruit, which is the darker shade after Peachy. So this is a nice thing if you have ink families that give you the light, medium, and dark. It's great when you're doing stencils and you want to add a lot of different tones, but you can certainly achieve it with just one ink color. Just make one really light, one a little heavier, and a third one go full throttle. Okay, now we're on to the leaves. I'm doing a light wash of celery, or as my husband calls it, celery. Is that a Calgary, Canadian way of saying celery, or is that just him? Sometimes I think it's just him. Sometimes I'm thinking he's just trying to what do you call it, crank my chain? Just get me going, just make me giggle, make me chuckle. Okay, by the way, I add a little sea foam down on the bottom. Since we went two-tone with the blooms, I'm keeping with that same tradition, going two-tone with the leaves. Okay, so now here's the more detailed stencil with the leaves. So we're going a little bit darker. I add Limalicious, and then I'll pull out the darker shade, which is Surf, to go over that sea foam portion. So we're adding the greens and the aquas for the leaves. Now here's that Surf, and I'm just giving a little bit down there on the bottom. So it's like going from lime green into like a light aqua. And then the centers of the blooms, a very light wash of lemonade. I like to keep it light. You could also make the centers of these like a real dark black or a brown. Now that I think of it, I probably should have Googled what does the center of a peony look like. And I didn't do that. But I think anything will look fabulous. Now here's the darkest detail on the leaves. So I pulled out Perfection. So I've used celery, Limalicious, and Perfection. That's the trio of greens that I use most often. And then down there on the bottom, we have, what is this color called? Ocean, I believe. I'll have everything linked if I forget to mention the colors in the description box. I'll also be posting this on my blog. You'll want to check that out if you want to enter the giveaway for the blog hop. And then the little detail on the center of the peony. So here we have worked our way through all 6 stencils. Dare I say this might be the easiest layering floral stencil I've ever done. Now I decided after the fact to put in that, I don't know what number this is. I think it might be 3. The detail of the peony. And I just wanted to add a little pink. I don't know why. I just felt like it. So I pulled out Peony, and I'm giving just a light wash over everything with that peony. And I kind of love how it turned out. Just gives it a wash of pink over that, coral and orange. And, it lit my fire. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters. Look at how it's almost like a geometric. I love how it looks. And there is a coordinating die, but for this first card, I'm keeping it very simple. Now, this set is called the Bouquet of Blessings stamp set. A lot of fabulous sentiments. I love the mixture of font. I chose the one here. This is May God always bless you and keep you. And I thought that was really, really nice. I'm not going to die cut this bloom. I'm keeping it flat, not dimensional at all. Stamped it with VersaFine Onyx Black ink. I trimmed it slightly down to be a little bit smaller than a card base. My card base is cream or buttermilk. Using a little tape runner on the back of the panel, and I'm not popping it up. Keeping it nice, flat, simple, easy to mail. Added a few of these little star shine embellishments, little confetti for a little glimmer, and it's simple. You could also add some flicks of black ink or gold ink. That would be fun. I did another panel. Same procedure as last time, but I used the coordinating Heartfelt Blooms die, and I'm cutting it out. So this one here is going to be like a step up if you want to make it dimensional. You know what I say? Dimension is life. If you want to. And then here's the Tiny Hearts cover die, which I'm going to die cut into a panel of white cardstock. So I'm taking these off camera, running them through my die cutting machine, and it makes a lot of tiny little hearts. I did have to take my little poker tool and pop those out. There's also a Tiny Hearts hot foil plate if you wanted to foil them, but I just die cut them and using some Barely Art glue, putting it all over the back of this panel, and I'm going to glue it flat down onto a white card base. So it's kind of a white on white. It's very subtle, but it gives you that texture. And then I'm putting some foam tape on the back of this Heartfelt stenciled bloom die cut, adding another sentiment from the Bouquet of Blessings stamp set, and then I'm using the coordinating die to cut that out. Now, while I was at it, I went ahead and die cut 3 more using that coordinating die out of white, and I'm just going to use these to stack it up, because you can see how the bottom of that word, it says, is it life? That would be hard to put foam tape behind. So in some cases, it's easier just to die cut several of the coordinating word die, stack them up. And that's what I did here, just using Barely Art liquid glue, 3 white, topped it off with the stamped one, adding glue on the back, and then I'm going to nestle this right into that peony little cluster. And so you have, now this is like a step up. The first card was very, very simple, which I love. And then the second one is like a step up. So what do you think? Do you prefer the stepped up version or the very clean, flat, simple version? I think I love them both, but I'm loving that simple one, but I also love the dimensional one. I don't know. Tell me which one you like in the comments, but I wanted to do one more card because I fell in love with this Elegant Peony die set, and I had to try it out. So here she is in all her glory, the Elegant Peony die set. It's simply a floral die set, and you can use solid color cardstock, or you can use white cardstock and add the color by ink blending. I pulled out a bunch of scraps. I believe all of this is Concord 9th solid color cardstock, some of my favorite colors, and I just did almost sort of a rainbow. I don't know, is this a peony? I'm not sure what kind of bloom it is. Not sure that it matters. And then I did 2 different shades of green for the leaf and the foliage. Now for that lightest one, which is going to be the base of the bloom, it was a very, very light pink, and I felt like it was almost too light. So I just took my blender brush. I didn't even add ink. I just used what was left over on it. And I just added a little blending to make this backer pink one just not quite so light. I don't know why I did it, to be honest. It just felt right at the time. And now I'm going to stack these all up, gluing them, but I'm being careful only to add glue kind of in the center. And the reason is so you can zhuzh it. I love to zhuzh, especially blooms. And you can lift, give them some air, and it just makes you feel like you mean business. So gluing this one down, I know this is poppy. I use ballet slipper, honeysuckle, cranberry poppy, sorbet, and grapefruit. These are my go-to concordonite spectrum colors for warm tones. So there you have this lightest one, which is grapefruit. And I love how some of these ones that you see have the texture, those lines, the linear details in the die cuts. And I'm stamping a very simple sentiment, which is from that same Bouquet of Blessings stamp set. Stamped it on a panel of buttercream, popping it up on a white card base. And then I'm just gonna assemble this bloom, kind of angling it on the side so it sort of just ever so gently frames that stamp sentiment. A little bit of glue on the stem here. It's going to hang off the cream panel, but I love that. I kind of like when things hang off the panel, but it stretches to the edge of the white card base. It's a nice little composition. And then you have the foliage. Now the foliage, I did realize, is kind of hanging off the card base. I try not to do that, but sometimes it looks really good, but it can be a bit of a bear when you're trying to fit it in an envelope. But sometimes you just got to hang it off for the beauty. And there you have it, adding more of these starshine embellishments. And card number 2 is finished. Look how I zhuzhed those petals. I mean, the higher the better. So you've got the Elegant Peony die set and the Heartfelt Blooms collection. Make sure and check out the new May release with Alex Syberia, and check out the rest of the blog hop for more incredible inspiration. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time.